Well, John 1, couple things before we begin. Often think of this, that who the writer is has been debated. The most classic interpretation is this is the disciple John who was called and lived with Jesus. But with all of the Gospels, we know that they were written much later, and not all of the disciples who followed Jesus were actually literate. So think it could be often it's the communities that maybe those disciples founded that eventually wrote down in the message of the person, which wouldn't have been unusual for the time. And John is very different than Matthew, Mark, and Luke. They seem to have been working off of a similar kind of manuscript. John has a different flow and a lot of different ways. It's a very verbose Jesus. He doesn't seem to move that much. He seems to talk a lot. And he speaks very different. It's the one gospel where Jesus seems to highlight his connection with God more than the other gospels, which people love to quote to say, he's the only Son of God, he's the only way because of this. So when we get to those passages, it'll be fun to kind of play with it, because there's the traditional perspective of an exclusive Son of God, and then there's alternative understandings of what Jesus meant that we can play with. Yeah. Okay.
All right, you want me to start?
Yes.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood or of the will of the flesh or of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. John testified to him and cried out, "This was he of whom I said, 'He who comes after me ranks ahead of me, because he was before me.' From his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. The law indeed was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known." This is the testimony given by John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny it, but confessed, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" He answered, "No." Then they said to him, "Who are you? Let us have an answer for those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of the Lord,' as the prophet Isaiah said." Now they had been sent from the Pharisees. They asked him, "Why then are you baptizing if you are neither the Messiah, nor Elijah, nor the prophet?" John answered them, "I baptize with water. Among you stands one whom you do not know, the one who is coming after me. I am not worthy to untie the thong of his sandal." This took place in Bethany, across the Jordan, where John was baptizing. The next day he saw Jesus coming toward him and declared, "Here is the Lamb of God, who takes away the sin of the world. This is he of whom I said, 'After me comes a man who ranks ahead of me, because he was before me.' I myself did not know him, but I came baptizing with water for this reason, that he might be revealed to Israel." And John testified, "I saw the Spirit descending from heaven like a dove, and it remained on him. I myself did not know him, but the one who sent me to baptize with water said to me, 'He on whom you see the Spirit descend and remain is the one who baptizes with the Holy Spirit.' And I myself have seen and have testified that this is the Son of God."
All right, let's stop there. Anything jump out at you or confuse you or?
I got one. I mean, this last section here, John the Baptist is saying, I myself did not know him. I mean, we know that he is Jesus' cousin because, from our, even our section from our skit for Christmas, his mother, Jesus' mother, came to John's mother while she was carrying him, and so were the two they never got back together again during their entire upbringing? You'd think that, especially considering how far along in age Elizabeth was when she had John, that it's like, Mary, come on up and bring your kids so that they can play together, and since they're close in age, and give me a break.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what he means. If he means I have no idea who this person is, or if he means I didn't know he was the Messiah. I've been preaching about the Messiah coming, but I didn't know it was actually my cousin. And then when he showed up, I sensed that something had something had happened, like the Spirit lay on him, and now he's radiating this energy, and I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't saying, John the Baptist wasn't going, everybody look for Jesus of Nazareth, everybody. He didn't know who it was going to be. So it could be that he hasn't seen his cousin. It could also be that even though he knows who his cousin is, he didn't actually think. Even if he thought his cousin was impressive, he probably wouldn't have actually thought, what are the odds
Yeah.
that the Messiah would be in my own family?
They may not have been raised close together either.
There was that time that Jesus was in Egypt. I mean, that begs the question of where was John? Well, Judas only had the firstborns killed in
Bethlehem.
Yeah.
So Jesus grew up and he's from Nazareth, which is a small town, and they would have only come into Jerusalem. It would make sense if Zechariah is the priest that they lived in Jerusalem. So in that way, maybe the only time they saw each other was when the family came for festivals.
Passover and such.
I could be wrong. Maybe priests had summer homes or places elsewhere, but my guess is they're priests at the temple, and the temple's in Jerusalem, and they would need to live in Jerusalem.
Makes sense.
That does make sense.
Sounds like they could drive their car up the
Yeah, exactly. Commuting is not maybe
Let's go 50
great
miles
option.
on the spur of a moment. No.
Yes.
I have a question, and this is in the next part, but I was thinking about it during the service of what is it about Nazareth that was not respected? Because doesn't it say at some point here nothing good could come from Nazareth?
Yeah, it's just
was it just like a backwater? Okay.
It's just like if this person showed up and was doing all this stuff, and they're like, they're from Glencoe. Like what? I don't expect the next president of the United States to come from Glencoe, Minnesota. I make fun of it because that's where my husband's parents are from. But yeah, it's just a small little town. You just don't have a lot of expectations for it. Yeah.
I chuckle. Clark.
Yeah,
South
we came
Dakota.
from Condé.
Every time we go through, every time we go through Clark on our way to Redfield, there's a sign that says "Birthplace of Hubert H. Humphrey."
Oh,
it is a tiny town.
Yeah,
and he had his inauguration in that tiny town, so the press was all flocking to small town. We're talking population of like 100 and some, triple digits for this town, and people. The press is coming from all over the world to this small town looking for places to stay because there aren't that. I mean, pheasant season. There's plenty of places to stay around that.
Trailers.
But yeah, it's got to be like that.
And and he had his inaugural address there to say that people from small towns can become president in the United States. You don't need to have a really big
vice
school.
president, but yeah.
Okay, vice president still.
yeah.
So Bethlehem and Nazareth were both just small little towns, nothing towns. They would have thought Jerusalem would be where the Messiah would come from.
Yeah. Two things I want to point out is that one, every time John writes the Jews, he's not talking about the Jewish people. He's talking about the leaders. Because Jesus himself is a Jew. The disciples are Jews. So how could the Jews have sent priests and Levites? That doesn't make any sense. But this phrase, the Jews, has been, especially in John, has been used for a lot of anti-Semitism. And so whenever we read it, we kind of have to pause and realize John is not trying to be anti-Semitic. He is trying to point out, because this is still early enough in the Christian body, that the Jewish people are their cousins, their brothers and sisters, right? They're coming from that. So they're not he's not trying to be anti-Semitic here. He's saying the Jewish leaders missed it. They were the ones who should have recognized Jesus, and they missed it. I also think that way it's putting it's saying we need to look within our own and not just blame the Romans. So one reason why I think that Pontius Pilate comes out so good is because they didn't want to say Jesus was killed by the Romans, but rather we did it. Does that make sense? Because it's so great to have a scapegoat of those people. But I think this is meant to be a little bit more in the family and a little bit more self-reflective of like, how are we in the insiders missing the boat? The second thing I want to point out in verse 29, when it says, here's the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, we have been conditioned by an atonement theory that happened hundreds of years after that to think they're talking about a sacrifice. That's not what he's talking about. All of John leads up to Jesus dying on the day when the lambs were killed for the Passover. The Passover lamb was killed. That had nothing to do with sacrifice for sins. That was the blood use that Moses smeared on the door so the angel of death would pass over. It's a very different connotation. It's actually kind of cool to think about the fact that Jesus died so that something would pass over us.
Oh, wow.
Isn't
that is cool, man.
It's very different.
Wow.
And when the sin of the world is like our disconnection from God, it's sort of like, it just has a different connotation. But we're so trained to think there's only one reason that Jesus died on the cross, that if you say anything else, it sounds like heresy. But actually, every gospel has their own slight variation on what Jesus' death on the cross meant. But we literally have been trained to see it's only one thing. So I just have to point that out.
Point it out. Say it one more time, though.
Yeah, about the Passover thing. So
Yeah.
if Jesus,
Thank
okay,
you.
what would have passed over us? Jesus
Yes.
died for what to pass over us?
Exactly.
Good question.
I think that's the fun part, because in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus' Last Supper was the Passover. In John, the Last Supper was just the Last Supper. The Passover was that Friday. And Jesus was killed on the Friday when you would kill the lamb for the Passover. So if you think about what was Moses doing, Moses was leading the people from slavery into freedom. Can we equate Jesus' death on the cross with something to do with our slavery into freedom? How and what? That's where our imagination comes in. And I think that's where we listen to what Jesus is trying to tell us. What is he trying to point us
Right.
towards?
And like the traditional view would be, well, we were slaves to sin. And
Right.
now we're free in Jesus, which is somewhat true, I think, but we don't necessarily have to have this blood sacrifice, like you said.
Or were we slave to the law?
And what does sin mean?
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Sin, yeah.
Exactly.
What'd you say?
What does sin mean?
Yeah.
It's like you mentioned the law too. We
Yeah.
take the law to say, well, this is what the sins are, so don't do those and you'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But Jesus harps on more than just this gospel about it's way more than just that. It's, if you even think ill of someone, you've killed them. It's equivalent. So
Yeah, and I think it's really important that with each story we get, we really focus in on what is John trying to say, and not maybe bring in what the other gospels do, but what is John saying about what is the sin of the world? what does salvation look like? What is he doing? Because it's going to be unique to John. And so I just want to point that out, because sometimes when I hear people quoting it, it's like they've smushed everything together under one Augustinian theology that happened hundreds of years later. And the only problem with that, even though it might work, if that doesn't work for you, you feel like, well, I can't be a Christian. No! Christians have had so many beautiful concepts of what Jesus meant, what sin was, what oneness was, what salvation was, what Jesus did on the cross. So let's talk about it and find the one that actually makes sense for you, that feels life-giving, because of traditionally that Jesus being an atoning sacrifice on the sin makes no sense to me, personally.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like, why would God need that? Mm-hmm. If God can forgive you, why wouldn't God just do that? It doesn't make sense. It has never made sense to me. And it was so freeing for me to realize that Christians have never reduced, except for recently, conventional Christianity recently has tried to say, nope, this is what you believe, or you're a heretic and you're bad. Not true.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole aspect of, if you don't believe our way, then you're a heretic, is like, Christ himself is harping on this against this whole aspect from
That's
the
the
get-go.
irony.
I think that's what being slaves to
That's
the
the
law
irony.
means.
Uh-huh.
We think it has to be just one way.
We're slaves to doctrine.
Yeah.
We think that we're saved by doctrine, right belief, right thought, right creed, right denomination is what's going to get you into heaven. And right, that's the goal, is to get into heaven. And it's just missing the fullness of, I think, what Jesus is actually inviting us into, which is way more unbounded, way more unconstrained. That's why the mystics always freaked the church out, because they'd come back and they'd be like, you guys, I just had the wildest vision. You're never going to believe what God told me. And they're like, stop talking right now, because you will destroy everything we've been trying to tell people.
Yeah, and then we get these rivalries between Protestants and Catholics, and Baptists versus
Subsets of
everyone
Protestants.
else. And the subsects of Wisconsin Synod versus ELCA, and it's like...
Well, that's only because they're wrong.
We're all worshiping the same God here. Who are we to say that our way is right and their way is wrong? And it's like...
And that's exactly how I feel, is I have nothing wrong with denominations. I have nothing wrong with different bodies, because they hopefully meet people where they are and give them what they need. It's only when we say, I'm right and you're wrong, that the problem comes in.
Mm-hmm.
If we say, oh, look at you worshiping with complete simplicity, good for you. Look at you with all the bells, smells, whistles, and pageantry. Fine. Neither is right or wrong. Is it working to bring you closer to God? Period. I
Yeah.
feel like you were going to say something.
I believe it all. Just that he died, he sacrificed for love.
Yeah.
And
Love, yeah.
love's the new word.
Yep.
Love's Johnny's new word.
It's a good word.
It
It's
is.
a good word.
It is.
And what is of all the deal? What is the greatest? Love.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not faith.
Right.
It's not faith. It's love.
It's love.
It's love. All we gotta do is learn how to. I think we need a class on, and I think we get one every week, but is how to exercise ourselves spiritually, physically, every way humanly possible in how to love.
Yeah.
That's it, and go from there. I need a, which I believe you are, but I need a trainer in just how to love. That's it.
That'd be a cool Lenten journey.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I thought I'd tell you today before, so I don't have
We'll
to
get
call
time
you.
to plan.
Before I don't have to call you tomorrow and tell you about it. I mean it. I've had this on my mind.
This is,
It's
It's a
all
day of cool
about-
ideas, I guess.
You know, you go to the
Yeah.
gym, a New Year's resolution to build up your muscles, build this. How can we build up love? But I think you do it all the time. But just simplify it. All I have to do is be love,
And practice it.
Absolutely.
Because there's
there's
something
skills to it.
we can know with all our brain that loving God and our neighbor and ourselves is the right answer. But that doesn't mean it's made it down.
Right.
And that's what spiritual practices do.
Absolutely.
Is that they start to go, oh, and you start to actually feel a shift.
But you have to take, just like in exercising, you have to take a certain part of your body and isolate it and work on it. And we are so broad that we have to take our physical part, our mental part, every part of it we have to take, and we really have to know why we're doing it. And I need help in
It's
that.
like what's leg day
Really?
for spiritual growth.
Yeah, what's leg day?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh, that's really kind of cool.
yeah. I tell you what, I wake up in the middle of the night, this stuff haunts me. You know, stuff comes and it,
That's cool.
I think
it
that's
has
say,
nothing to do with
You
me.
got a song stuck in my head now because now I got the Beatles, All You Need Is Love going through my
Oh,
head.
yeah.
Oh man.
Thanks a
Now
lot.
my mind's trying to
Oh, I've infected him now.
No, we're doing.
trying to twist it into the message on this. Oh, good.
Well, let's keep going with 35 to the end of 1. So, Kirsten, do you want to read this one?
The next day, John again was standing with 2 of his disciples. And as he watched Jesus walk by, he exclaimed, "Look, here is the Lamb of God!" The 2 disciples heard him say this, and they followed Jesus. When Jesus turned and saw them following, he said to them, "What are you looking for?" They said to him, "Rabbi," which translated means teacher, "where are you staying?" He said to them, "Come and see." They came and saw where he was staying, and they remained with him that day. It was about 4:00 in the afternoon. One of the 2 who heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which is translated anointed. He brought Simon to Jesus, who looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You are to be called Cephas," which is translated Peter. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Follow me." Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him about whom Moses and the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus, son of Joseph from Nazareth." Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see." When Jesus saw Nathanael coming towards him, he said of him, "Here is truly an Israelite in which there is no deceit." Nathanael asked him, "Where did you get to know me?" Jesus answered, "I saw you under the fig tree before Philip called you." Nathanael replied, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus answered, "Do you believe because I told you that I saw you under the fig tree? You will see greater things than these." And he said to him, "Very truly I tell you, you will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man."
So, a reference, I have a note here to Jacob's ladder. The dream that Jacob had of the angels descending and ascending. And
Well, and do you think he's talking about the transfiguration? Like that they're going to see heaven opened?
Little
Isn't
teaser.
that kind of what they
It does sound like
what they
that.
saw?
Yeah.
it could be.
That's
Yeah.
a good question. Is it meant literally or metaphorically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Are you literally going to see the heavens opened up, or are you going to be shown
Mm-hmm.
the
Heaven on
presence?
earth, yeah.
Heaven on earth, the presence of God. Yeah.
Well, was he one of the few that was with Jesus at the mountaintop where they suddenly saw Moses and Elijah, and they were?
Not
I heard the
Nathaniel.
voice.
Unfortunately, we never hear about Nathaniel again.
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
it.
with all the translated and name changes, I wasn't sure if
Yeah.
he was just calling her a different name afterwards.
Yeah, some of them may have both
Peter, James, and
Aramaic
John are like the 3 disciples that seem to be the closest. But I think this is, we'll have to see. I think this is like the only time we hear about Nathaniel.
Well,
Might
and it's
be
interesting.
one of
So
the
Andrew
ones.
was originally John the Baptist disciple, and he switched over to Jesus. But we don't know who the second one with him was. And
Yeah.
then Andrew pulls in his brother,
Mm-hmm.
and then it goes from there.
Yeah.
So these are clearly disciples that were still with Jesus, but they just sort of fell back into the crowd as opposed to the main 12.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of the names of all 12 disciples, we don't have a lot of stories of, we don't have stories of all of them. We have stories of maybe half.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew, Thomas,
Mhm.
a lot of Peter, James and John. This is kind of it for Philip and Nathaniel. Some of the other ones are like, wait, who else was there? Who else were there?
Judas.
Got
Yeah.
Judas.
Can't forget Judas.
Got
Yeah.
Judas.
I was thinking it's so funny where it's like mean Simon Peter for the very first time says, "You got a new name now."
Yeah.
I figured there probably was a lot of context that's not
Right.
been reproduced here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are Simon.
Either that or
Now
it's
you
like
are
fighter pilots
Peter.
getting their call signs
Simon
for some
Peter.
weird reason that nobody later will ever know about.
Or there's already too many of them with the same name. It's like, I'm going to nickname you this.
Five
Because your hair
Simons
is colored
already.
this way, or your face reminds me of this. and
It's like
your face looks like a rock. I'm going to call you Peter.
Theater rock.
Oh, hi, Greg.
entering a dorm and the guy in charge. Oh, you're groundhog.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know.
And he's the only one he gave another name to,
Yeah.
as far
That
as
we
I
know
know.
about, yeah.
So
It is strange.
Yeah.
it does make you wonder if there are. Now you mentioned if there were others that got renamed, and just people forgot what their birth name was. What name the parents gave them.
Well, let's read chapter 2. It's a little shorter and got 2 good stories here.
Yeah. Can we keep going, or?
Sure, yeah.
On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine came out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." The wine gave out, sorry, I misread that. And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother, his brothers, and his disciples, and they remained there a few days. The Passover of the Jews was near, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple, he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. Making a whip of cords, he drove all of them out of the temple, both the sheep and the cattle. He also poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. He told those who were selling the doves, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." The Jews then said to him, "What sign can you show us for doing this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews then said, "This temple has been under construction for 46 years, and you will raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking of the temple of his body. After he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this, and they believed the scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
When he was in Jerusalem during the Passover festival, many believed in his name because they saw the signs that he was doing. But Jesus, on his part, would not entrust himself to them, because he knew all people and needed no one to testify about anyone, for he himself knew what was in everyone. I think that is interesting that there's that little spoiler towards the end there. This is clearly structured very differently than modern storytelling, where we're like, well, we want people to experience this
Yeah.
unveiling of the storyline.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, you guys already know what's going
You
on.
guys already know
So-
the ending. Yeah.
So that's why I'm telling you about this, because they have to call back to it later.
Yeah. Exactly.
Make sure you remember this bit for later.
The first verse into on the third day of what?
Yeah.
Or is it just another foreshadowing?
Yeah.
The third day.
Yeah. I think that that's a intentional
Okay.
third day of the week, but the fact that they mention it, like, why would that be important
Right.
except for the fact that it's saying
Right.
something?
Well, wasn't 3 had some significance?
Yeah, it's a holy number. but the third day he rises. So I think this is his first official sign, and it's interesting to see how it mirrors a resurrection, this transformation of water into wine. And it's at a wedding, so there's something instantly, if every sign Jesus does, he does 7 signs in John, and each one is supposed to be saying something about who God is. So, what is changing water into wine at a wedding in abundance say about who God is? So it's not about, oh, Jesus had the power to do this. That's just surface level. What is he trying to say?
Yeah.
Wants us to be happy. Keep the party going.
Kind of I think it might have some significance, I'm not sure. It says, zeal for this house will consume you. And I think that, the zeal for anything can consume you. I mean, the Bible, any of that stuff does. It's not the house, it's not the Bible, it's not that.
I think it's the point where you're not worshiping God, you're worshiping the structure.
Yeah.
Imagine how many arguments churches have had over the color of carpet and, what to do with this and how much money to spend and fix. Like we can spend so much time getting upset about things that feel faithful, but are just not quite in line with the big picture.
I know when the beams in the sanctuary got painted that lighter color, there were people upset they weren't blue anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they don't match the carpet anymore, but it does bring more light in there. And they needed new paint anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very human reaction.
Yeah.
You get used to stuff, you like it that way.
Yeah, it's the ugliness in ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
We have a small perspective because we can only see this far.
No kidding.
So we'll think what's around us and we'll forget that other people are seeing different things.
Yeah.
It's really hard to remember that other people are thinking different things and seeing different things and have a different vantage point.
I think this is in this chapter here, we're starting to see the come and see. That was probably really interesting to the disciples. I mean, the first one was fun. It was water into wine. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
They can do that. We're at a wedding. This is really fun.
Jesus is going,
Yeah. Like nobody really knew except for the servants and the disciples and Jesus' mother. But then this next one's a little bit more. It's less fun. It might have been
what's the next one you're saying?
That's
the
subversive,
cleansing
that
of the
one.
temple.
Oh, yeah.
The cleansing of the temple might have
Okay.
made people really
Sure.
nervous, made the disciples really anxious, like, oh no, if he's going to get violent here, like,
Yeah.
is this the person I'm following? And he could get in trouble with religious leaders. Is that what I signed up for?
Yeah.
And some of them might have been like, yeah, and others would have been like, oh, this
Where
is...
do we get ourselves in?
Yeah. And
I draw the line here.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, I would have trouble following at that point because of that fear. It's like, is he leading us into the prison
Right?
Yeah.
Or worse.
or
Yeah.
worse?
Yeah.
It works.
And it's very public. And again, in verse 20, the Jewish leaders said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And how are you saying this? And we're starting to get this sense of like the literalism that so many people take Jesus literally. So you're going to destroy this temple? How could you do that? It took 46 years, just literal.
Yeah.
We do that too
Oh, yeah.
with faith.
I would absolutely say the same thing as the Jews there. Like, you're crazy.
Yeah. Yep. That's part of what I think the transformation between water and wine means is water is ordinary. It's good. We use it in baptism. it's sort of what represents most of us at our kind of norm. But Jesus' ability to transform water into wine to elevate it, I think he's saying something about the possibility of what God can do to us.
Yes.
And it's in a wedding banquet, meaning this is God's intention for us, is that we're at a wedding banquet enjoying in community. And, you know, this isn't about drudgery. This isn't about slavery. This isn't about changing wine into water so that no one sins, right? Imagine
Okay.
a very puritanical
Oh, sure.
gospel where you're telling this story and you're like, and Jesus saw they were having too much fun and they might sin, so he changed the wine into water. You know, like, and Jesus saw that people were not obeying the institution, and so he, you know,
Made a whip and chased them back in.
made a
so they
weapon and
could-
chased people back into the temple, you know. And it's just,
But on a practical, and I'm not sure about this at all, but would a wine been a way of sterilizing water?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting
know that.
point too. Because people didn't know about germs, but they somehow knew that sometimes you'd get sick when you drank water,
Okay.
and you got less sick when you had wine. And I heard that the wine wasn't always as potent as maybe what we have here.
Sure.
It was a little bit more drinkable.
We've gotten better at fermenting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so they didn't know
'Cause it's
why it
fun.
worked, but they knew it tastes good, and they knew you got a little buzz from
Yeah,
it, and you
you
got
did.
less sick. Triple win.
Okay. Because that's the first time I thought of maybe that is a way of sterilizing it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think like
But
fruit
that's
juice
actually-
is fruit juice is fine to drink. It's safe, but if you ferment it, it'll last a lot longer. I mean, You can
Okay.
keep wine for months,
The-
but grape juice is going to be nasty if you try to drink
Okay,
it
how about-
later.
How about water? I mean, water will get bad before wine would? Or
I don't
not?
think it would get any worse. I think it started out bad.
Depends on how it's kept too. I mean, water
Yeah.
that has an open lid,
Yeah.
then little critters will go in and drink it and exchange.
Yeah.
Saliva will go into it, and
That's
birds
good.
perching on the corner will, of course,
Mhm.
taint that water. And
Well, and
Yeah.
what it's kept on. I read an interesting factoid. In
Yeah.
India, the rate of waterborne illness went up drastically because people had started using plastic water jugs. Because these are people who travel a long way to collect water and bring it back
Okay.
home, and that's because the water jugs were a lot cheaper than the brass containers they used to use. Brass contains a lot of copper, which is antimicrobial.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can what you keep the water in makes a difference.
yeah.
Speaking
I don't know what
of,
they would have used.
let's end on this because we're about time. Jesus specifically asked them to fill up jars of purification. That is
That's
significant.
interesting.
So these are jars that would hold water that you would wash yourself in before a ritual so that you're purified. But he's asking it to be filled in to turn it into wine for a party. So it's a fascinating thing of what does Jesus think about what's supposed to be a holy container being used as a method of transforming into something that's more than what it was originally designed for. So I think there's just deep symbolism, like right and left, everywhere in here, to the point where you're like, it didn't matter if it literally happened this way or not. John is just trying to point out the fact, this is who Jesus is. He's going beyond the religious rites of the day to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary for a lot, expanding beyond our faith, our religion, our normalcy.
Sure, take everything and turn it into a holy experience.
Yeah, yeah.
All things in life.
And these purification rites, did everyone follow them, or was this like something the priests had to do before they could enter the Holy of Holies or something?
Why
It
don't
was
they-
everybody. Yeah.
Different
Okay.
purification rites for different people. Like there's ones women have to do every month
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that require a lot of water.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And even before you eat, you'd wash your hands before they knew about germs, but it was just like the mental idea of washing yourself before you ate to purify yourself. So there was a lot. a lot of purification.
It's a lot of water purification imagery in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think they still use a lot of water today for the same reasons.
Yeah, the concept of purification is really interesting because I think it means differently than what we think. So it's not don't drink, don't dance, don't have fun, and then God might accept you. It's something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.